Welcome to the show. Geek Insider presents Into the GeekVerse, the place to get an inside look at movies, comics, games, tech, and everything exciting going on in the Geekverse. Join Matthew Harris and David King as they take a deeper look at the good, the bad, and the downright terrible things our Geekverse has to offer. With live chat, geek news, special guests, and lots more. So sit back, relax, and join us for a peek into the Geekverse.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to episode 24 of Into the GeekVerse. I'd like to thank our official sponsor, Colgate, and more on them later. Today, me and my special guest will talk about the new award-winning God of War Ragnarök game. Apologize for that, a little bit of a technical difficulty getting that off of there. Today, joining us is Amanda, who is a fan of the show. Amanda, why don't you tell us a bit more about yourself?
I'm excited to be here, and I enjoy Thor and geek mythology, and I just I'm looking forward to learning more about this game, so I can talk to my son about it. He's really into this game.
That's amazing. I am proud of you for seeking out connections with your son and everything. I'm sure he really enjoys that. I could see you've even got quite a collection behind you. Is there a story behind that?
It's just something me and my son decided to start building together. We both enjoy collecting the statues and the posters and stuff.
I see. Is that two new Thor statues that you've got?
Yes.
So you weren't lying. You really do enjoy Thor, huh?
Yes.
Well, to start us off, let's talk about the several awards that this game has won. This is going to give you a little bit of an introduction into why your son's probably such a big fan of this game. The Game Awards for 2022 just released just a couple of days ago, and I know a lot of people had this. It was nominated for Game of the Year, but let's start off as the best narrative. You've got the best score and music. I can speak by this. Playing through these, I completely agree with all of these awards that it's gathered. Every little bit that's been put into this was all specialized to give an immersive experience to whoever's playing it. You have the best audio design, the best performance, which is actually Christopher Judge, which is as Kratos. You may also know him from Stargate. He played in Stargate. Innovation and accessibility to be more accessible for their players and everything. It got the best action and adventure, but I am sad to say it did not get Game of the Year. It did get a nominated for it, but Elden Ring, which is a continuation of the Elder Scrolls series, I believe, after Skyrim. No, it's Elder Scrolls Online. Anyways, it won the Game of the Year. God of War did come out with the game with the most awards, Elden Ring following. But giving you a little bit of information on how many awards that this game has won, how does that kind of make you feel, and getting into like why your son's so excited about this game?
It's pretty neat to learn that it's won so many awards. It makes me want to learn more about it and maybe even try to play it.
Definitely, if you have a PlayStation at home, it is a PlayStation exclusive. Probably best on PlayStation 5. It is next gen console. It's been out for a little bit, but it was hard to get. They're fairly easy, I believe, now to get. But really high quality games to be able to play. That's what I played it on myself. Thoroughly enjoyable to play, not just the campaign, but also the side stories, because you get to learn a lot about Greek mythology, which I heard you're interested in. And going off of that, there's some names that you might recognize in this from Greek mythology, and not just that, but actually Thor, which is something that you're interested in, and it's a big Marvel Cinematic Universe, as they've got 4 main movies out for Thor, and he's even in the Avengers and everything. So let me go ahead and show you a little bit of some characters. First, I'm going to show you 2 different comparisons, and I want to see if the actor seems familiar to you at all. First one, let me pull up here. Let me see if you recognize this actress.
She looks familiar.
She does. Have you ever seen? She's in a couple of different things. One of the Marvel ones, not a movie, but a show, is called Daredevil. She was also in a pretty big movie that I think got hit. We've talked about it on the show before. I don't know if you've looked up. It's called Escape Room,
I have not.
and she's in the second version of Escape Room in the theatrical cut, not the extended version. So I want to ask you, seeing the actress and the video game, um, do you see there is there a likeness that you see?
Oh yeah, it looks they did really good on that. It looks a lot like her.
Definitely. I'll tell you a little bit about this character, so connection with your son and everything. This character is actually called Faye, or later, as we learn, Lao Fei. Lao Fei may be a name that you have recognized from the Thor movies. Hasn't been said much, so I wouldn't be surprised if you don't recognize it. And this is actually the mother and the wife of Kratos, mother of Atreus, or which we later to know Atreus as Loki. So the importance of this character shows up a lot more in this story. Seeing the actual character being played, which was wonderful, hearing her voice and seeing this gameplay of her. In the first one, she did die, and you didn't see her, but you got to get the importance of the story. So this was a wonderful character. Now I know we've got a lot to discuss and everything, and I think that there's one other that I want to show you if you recognize the actor from. This one is not from what I know in other Marvel ones, but he is on TV. You recognize?
Oh, yeah, I recognize him.
Uh, I forgot to mention that the name of the previous actress is Deborah Ann Wool. Fantastic performance, especially translating into a video game. And I do want to go ahead and say that this actor is Richard Schiff. I do apologize if I'm saying that wrong. Where you said you recognize him, can you pin where you recognize him from?
Isn't he on The Good Doctor?
He is. He's on The Good Doctor. He plays Aaron Glassman. And I think that once again, personally, my girlfriend freaked out because she watches me play this game, and she's even watched The Good Doctor with me. And she was like, I can't see it again the same way. I can't, because you've got Odin in this one, which is this god, and then you've got this doctor. I think he's like an advanced neurologist, surgeon or something, brain surgeon, or ex-brain surgeon. And it's amazing to see the differences in the characters, but then seeing the similarity of the video game and the actor itself. So he does play Odin. To tell you a little bit about this character, Odin obviously is somebody that you've probably recognized from Greek mythology, and he's the All-Father over the Aesir gods that is in Asgard. Asgard is the home of the Aesir gods, and you're aware Thor and all the other ones. And so from the past game of Ragnarok, we've established that he's pretty much a bad guy, and he's done a lot of wrongdoings in the search for like all good and everything. And you come across several people that have done him wrong. In this game, this is actually from one of the beginning scenes where he comes down to the house of Kratos and Atreus to be able to talk to them and try to make a deal, which, as Mimir, one of the characters, explains, and there are other people, like, he's not to be trusted. He always goes behind his deals. He's always got a sick, twisted, like, other mindset going behind you and everything. And so that's kind of the play behind this character. Let me go ahead and pull that off. So it's kind of somebody who's wanting to get more into this for their son, and I take it probably hasn't played that many video games. Does it come to you as shock of you that these characters look so much like the actors or actresses?
Yeah, it does. It's pretty neat to see how the reality of how much they look like each other.
Definitely, and I believe there's probably some other options here. I think those are probably the biggest ones that would stand out that I think people would recognize from different shows. Of course, both of those are established actors and actresses who probably have a lot more. Those are just the top ones that I think people would recognize them from. A very good job. You recognized him from the show. I think you saw that she was a familiar face. Next, I actually have some more stuff that I've put together, and I'm actually really excited to show this to you. As you said, you're a big Thor fan, right?
Yes,
So, from the Thor movies, which was your favorite Thor movie?
probably the first one.
The first one? What you like his long locks that he had?
Yeah.
uh, that's wonderful. I give you a little pop quiz. Maybe see. Do you know? Do you remember the name of his hammer?
uh,
You don't have to pronounce it correctly.
I cannot remember the name of it.
So I do have the image here that I'm going to go ahead and pull up and share with you. And this is what we've got, the comparison of the two Thors. So before I go on, why don't you tell us your first thoughts when looking at these two differences of Thor?
They're like drastically different. I'm
Definitely.
just two different takes on it completely.
Absolutely. As you're a fan of Greek mythology and stuff, you're probably aware that in Greek mythology, Thor was a god who was a ruffian. He was a drunk. He was very abrupt, and you got to see that side of Thor in the first movie, which is your favorite, when Odin banishes him to Earth, and he has to become worthy of Mjolnir, which is the name of his hammer. As you see here, I did want to also provide, although this image of Thor was very excellent and I wanted to grab it, I went ahead and also grabbed an image of Mjolnir up above him. So you can see there's differences in the hammer too. I don't know if your son got it, but if you didn't know, the God of War Ragnarok collector's edition actually came with a life-size Mjolnir that people got to take home. And from what I've seen, it's weighted pretty well and everything. So the one you see in the top left corner is the new Mjolnir from the God of War Ragnarok. So you said there's a drastic difference in everything. I'll ask you this: which one do you like better?
The one on the right.
You like Thor from the movie?
Yeah.
And this is something that I think when we talk about our geeks, and ladies and gentlemen, if you have followed us and watched our previous shows, I've talked about a lot before. You're talking about character development. And one of those things, putting it in the cinematic universe, is you got to make it likable. You got to make it drawn. Now, before Thor, let me ask you this, and I'm just guessing. Before watching Thor in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, were you a fan of Marvel? Did you watch a bunch of superhero movies?
Yeah, I have.
You did? Okay. So my guess would have been wrong then. I think Marvel and stuff casted a very sculpted man who's gonna draw in ladies who like his looks. So of course Greek mythology has him as like a fat slob, drunk, like. And so you've got more of the Greek mythology accurate one here in God of War Ragnarok, and then you have the Thor that we're presented with in the first movie. However, I do applaud them because they still address how he drinks a lot, he's a party, he's a fighter. That is Thor. And then we got him drastically changed, especially going into the second one, third, fourth, completely different Thor than what we're used to in the God of War Ragnarok. Let me ask you this. Do you think Thor would be such a favorite of yours if you were presented with the option on the left in the movies?
Probably not. I mean, he's pretty rough looking.
He definitely is. And I think that this is designed in a very specific way because it's easier for audiences to follow the career development of a character they're more interested in. When you're looking at the one on the left, it's easier, one, for people to, go towards his career development, because he is a little bit, spoiler alert, but if you played the first one, you already kind of know Thor is the bad guy in this, pretty much. And so, you're not as drawn into it, but also I think that a lot of this was also geared more towards the male audience, if I'd have to guess, from the game development standpoint. So they were okay with making him very rough, accurate, and I think it appealed to men. And he was the villain. You didn't need him to look extremely good looking or anything like that. So I do applaud. I actually really appreciate seeing this. And this is actually the second time that we've seen a portrayal like this of Thor in a video game. The first appearance was actually, at least that I've played, was Assassin's Creed Valhalla. You actually have this side where you play, and you can go, it's like Odin, and you go in Asgard, and you get to play next to Thor and everything, and he's also portrayed very similar to this. And so it's really nice as somebody who also enjoys Greek mythology. I don't know a lot, but I do enjoy it, that we're able to see these portrayals of it. But enough about Thor. I know we could talk a lot about it, and the reason I did is because I know it's something that you enjoy about. But I'm not quite done yet. So as we end this, you love Thor. What is probably the one other character that you could think of in Thor that's also in the other movies, character-wise? And I mentioned it earlier on the show.
Loki.
Loki, absolutely. So Loki is also in this one. And if you actually want to see Loki, I have got this pulled together, and boom. So this one is Loki. Once again, tell us a little bit about what you're seeing here between the two.
I actually think, in a way, besides the hair, but in the facial features, it's kind of similar. But the one from the game looks a little bit younger than the one from the movie. So,
Absolutely. And you
yeah.
brought up a good point, something that I haven't even considered. The face is kind of more like it. And you're right. This is younger. The first God of War, you actually play him even younger. And in this one, he is more grown up in God of War Ragnarok. So, of course, the one on the left is the video game character who we've grown to know as Atreus until the very end of the first game, when you go to bury his mother, Faye, or Laufey, we later figure out, in Jotunheim, the realm of the giants, that they birthed the son Loki. She wanted to name her son Loki because giants can see prophecies of the future. And he is supposed to be Loki. Kratos wouldn't name him Loki. Kratos named him Atreus after his fallen friend, who's a war guy. Enough about that. Play the game if you want to learn more. But so we learn in the second one that he goes back and forth between being called Loki and Atreus, mainly Atreus, unless you're talking about Asgard. People from Asgard refer to him as Loki. This is a key point because you actually get to play Atreus by yourself rather than him as a sidekick and you playing as Kratos. And you get that pretty heavily in this game, which I didn't think that I would like, but I thoroughly enjoyed. He is somebody who uses a bow and daggers mainly, which, as you can see from the image to the right, is just like the daggers that he uses in the movie. You obviously don't get the helmet. He's not grown up and kind of made that self of him. You do get little funny hints of him being mischievous. And they don't heavily lean towards it. He's supposed to be the god of mischief, and it's kind of funny to see that in here. But the whole game is basically about him and his journey, discovering his prophecies, and obviously, as the name, Ragnarok. Now, the name Ragnarok, I've got to ask you, does that ring any bells?
Yeah, it does. I heard it from the movie.
Yeah, the third movie, Thor Ragnarok. Can you tell us what you remember? Basically, a very broad of the third movie, Thor Ragnarok. what ends up happening at the end, like what Ragnarok is about.
You put me on the spot, and then I forget everything about
It happens. Matthew, our other co-host, which unfortunately couldn't make it in today, he does that sometimes to me as well, and I'm like, I should know this. When I don't know, and you put me on the spot, just whew. But Thor Ragnarok is the third movie in the series where you start off, he's chained up. Do you remember that? He's got his long hair, he's spinning, and he's speaking to a guy named Surtur. Then you later figure out, like very at the beginning of it, that he is destined to become Ragnarok and end Asgard, completely tear it down and everything. So we learn that Greek mythology and stuff, Ragnarok is about Surtur and becoming the end of Asgard, growing so big in this big monstrous form. And that's the really big. I mean, so much happens in that movie, but generally that's the point. Now, excuse me, when I talk too much, my voice gets rough. So I do want to go ahead and present you with. I did get a comparison because we do get to see Surtur in God of War Ragnarok. So go ahead and as each of these, I always am intrigued with what you have to tell us about these two characters.
When I saw the picture, I remembered who he was and everything. Totally different takes on the character. He's like fiery and stuff in the movie, but in the game, it looks like he's a lot different.
Definitely. I'll tell you a little bit on why. So the one on the right is the movie portrayal, and Thor's there. He talks about how he's destined to be Ragnarok and his crown to be thrown into the fire, and he'll grow so big, and his destiny is to destroy Asgard. And to the left, we have a different portrayal. In the right, would you say that he is? What type of character would you say Surtur is in the movies, if you had to describe him?
I
Like,
would
not
say he's
physical.
very evil and mean.
Absolutely. So Surtur is made out to be the villain. He's very mean and everything. And although I gotta say, one of my favorite parts is when Thor's spitting and he's interrupting Surtur. He's like, just because stop. It was hilarious. But the one on the left is Surtur from the God of War Ragnarok series. He's very sympathetic, and what we learn is he's on Muspelheim, which is this very fiery place, which is exactly like you see to the movie on the right. But Surtur over here on the left, you go to talk to him and say, hey, we need you for Ragnarok. It's already started. We need you to come in this and everything. And he says, no, I saw the prophecy long ago. And in this one, he actually has to combine with his wife to form Ragnarok to destroy Asgard. But the deal is when they join together, they die. So in their love for each other, they have separated themselves so they can never see themselves again and never can join to do Ragnarok. This is a very touching moment in the story, and he's very calm the entire time. As you see, he's kind of at peace at what he has to do. He has to be away, and he explains that white spot that you see there is actually her heart, and she has his heart, so they're still together, even though they're separated. He explains, what's going on. After he turns away Kratos and Atreus, he realizes the very iconic blades on the back of Kratos's back, the Chaos blades. And he says, hey, where'd you get those? And he says, long story, they're not from here. And he mentions that there's a flame in it that's old that should do the trick. They're saying, what are you talking about? And they said, if you stab me in the heart with this, it should be enough force to combine her heart with my body to cause Ragnarok without having to hurt my wife. And he says, as long as you leave my wife out of this, I will do this for you. I've made peace as long as she is safe. So you go on this journey and you go to this kind of realm between realms. And, he gets a lot of power of these flames. He puts them in his blades and he gets stabbed in the heart. He falls off. While you're having this really epic battle, which I won't spoil for y'all, check out the game if you would like to learn more about that. He then grows to become Ragnarok, the really big thing that we've seen in Thor Ragnarok. Definitely a different portrayal, but still really cool. Same idea. And he tells them, you blow the horn of Galahorn, which is what starts Ragnarok, and I will come. So, knowing a little bit more information about Surtur and the comparisons of the two, what do you think? What do you think about what you were given in the movie? And then tell me, what do you think about what I just described to you in the video game? And which one you like better?
I think they're totally two different characters, because in the movie he's so evil and stuff, and I don't think he really cares in the movie, but from what you tell me in the game, he's a totally different character in the game. He's very caring and has a kind heart, sympathetic.
Definitely. I mean, you're getting these two different ones now. Let me ask something. I always like to talk about where I think movies could have gone, and what I would have changed and how things would have gone if I would have changed it. Would you have changed that Surtur that they put in that movie with this one that we got from the game?
Yeah, I would. I mean, because I think it would have changed a lot of things.
Definitely, I can definitely see that portrayal of having that more sympathetic one, especially with the Thor that we got, the one that's more comedic. I'm so sorry, everybody. I've been having a rough throat and I'm trying to still sound perfectly fine for y'all. Well, at that point, we are almost halfway through the show, and I would like to go ahead and take a moment so we can hear a word from our sponsor.
Hey everyone, it's a known fact that when brushing, most people miss up to 40% of their teeth. But thankfully, the Hum by Colgate has you covered. Hum by Colgate is a smart toothbrush and app combination that will give you and the kids sparkling smiles and more of them. Colgate is the official sponsor of Into the GeekVerse, and you can get into the rhythm of better brushing by heading over to shop.colgate.com. As an official insider, you can use discount code GEEK20 and get 20% off the Hum by Colgate. That's shop.colgate.com and discount code GEEK20.
Alrighty. So, Amanda, we're about halfway through the show, and I'm showing you a lot of differences between, Thor. We're getting the Greek mythology from that, and the video game. So far, tell me what you're thinking. You're seeing a lot of different takes.
I find it very interesting that the movie versions are so different from the game versions. Uh, it it almost kind of seems like a different storyline than what the movie went with.
Definitely, and that's some good insight. And I'd have to ask you, as a more movie watcher and everything, taking the difference between the games, Greek mythology, and the portrayal for the movies, which one do you appreciate more? Do you think that the movies should stick more towards an accurate portrayal of these Greek mythology characters?
I know it might not bring in as much money, but yeah, I really would have appreciated that more if they would have stuck more to what the Greek mythology is about.
I have another character here for you. Does the name Heimdall recognize? Like, does that ring any bells for you?
It seems like it would.
Let me see if this jogs any memory bells here.
Okay, yeah.
So the character on the right is the Heimdall that you're used to. If you remember from the movies, he's a very important character who guards the Bifrost in that he has the eyes of foresight. So, he uses it in a bunch of different ways. So he can kind of see what people are going to do. He also can kind of see where other people are at. And you've got this really nice like sword that he goes with you. Do you remember this character fairly well?
Yeah, I think I do.
And how would you describe the character that you got from the Thor movies of Heimdall? How would you describe him?
Uh, from the picture, he seems very stern. I, I don't know if that's the right word or not. Uh, I'm trying to remember the movie and how he played in the movie and stuff, but man, I'm having a hard time.
He plays an important character who helps Thor. He is like stern's kind of a word. He is a sort he's he's a high figure. He has a lot of authority, and so because Thor has a good relationship with him, we kind of get to see a good side of him, and we even see him guiding children to safety in Thor Ragnarok,
Oh,
and so we have this really nice portrayal. Looking to the left, what does the image on the left immediately tell you about this Heimdall?
to me, on the left, he's got that arrow in his hand, and he just looks so different from the movie version. Uh, he looks like he plays like a totally different storyline.
Definitely, and you're right on the spot, and that may also be because of the difference between so many of these. And Heimdall is one of the greater enemies that you'll face, and in fact, he is a specific reason why. In a part of the story, you actually finally get a third weapon, which is the spear. So this Heimdall you first see when Atreus is climbing the wall to get into Asgard. Heimdall grabs his arm and is basically threatening him about letting him, throwing him off the wall. And he doesn't believe that he is a guest of Odin, which Odin did invite Atreus over because Odin realizes how important Atreus, or Loki as they call him, is going to be to the story and what he can do for Odin. Finally, Atreus talks his way through it, and Heimdall brings him into Asgard in front of the great hall that the Allfather lives in, and they end up having a bit of a fight. They go in, and we learn in that short interaction that this dude's a dick. I mean, he's pushing he's meant to protect the Allfather and let him know he has the ability of foresight, which what you actually see here is Atreus goes to shoot him in the back of the head with an arrow, but without even looking, he's able to catch it because he has the eyes of foresight. So he's a very powerful person, which nobody dares to touch him, even though everybody just hates this guy, basically. Even the own gods in Asgard, they just hate Heimdall because he's a dick. And I feel like this image kind of, you kind of see that in his face and everything. So to defeat Heimdall, because he has the ability of foresight, let me ask you, if you were to have to go against somebody who could pretty much know what your next moves are, how do you think that you would beat him?
Come from behind.
It is a good sight. Unfortunately, it does get ruled out as Atreus does shoot him with an arrow from behind, but he's able to see it coming. It's kind of a hard question, basically. How are you supposed to defeat someone who knows what's coming?
Yeah.
And they answered it very well. And I love it because they pondered over it, and then they realized that you're supposed to overwhelm him. If he's supposed to know what's coming, then give him too much to know what's coming, basically. And so they get this ring that's made out of a material that duplicates, basically. And they use that and they travel to the dwarven realm and they forge a spear that can duplicate. So basically, out of a ring pops a spear. He could throw it, but another spear would pop up in his hand. And so, excellent. And I love how they put the thought into this about, let's not just do some really, plot cutting, like, as Matthew would usually say, like some shitty writing where, like, he just has an accident or he slips and dies or something really cheap. They actually thought of a creative way, and that's a whole part of the story that you have to go to try to get this weapon so that you could defeat him. And eventually you do have to battle him, and I won't provide any spoilers for y'all because there's a lot of story, lore, side quests, and all of them are just as attention-grabbing as the next one. So if you are liking these and stuff, go check it out. It is an amazing game to play. It's definitely worth the full price. And guys, if you're loving these, these games and us talking about the reviews and everything, make sure to drop a comment and let us know. And we'd be happy to do more of these for upcoming games that we can get and give you reviews of them. Now, we're not done yet. I mean, you may think that after all of the talk of Thor characters and everything, that would be it. There is one other character that I will tell you, and it's probably someone, and it is from your favorite one. It's from the first one. I think she does make a debut in some of the other ones. I do also know that she makes a debut in the Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and that would be Lady Sif. Let me go ahead and show you a Lady Sif comparison. Do you happen to recognize this character on the left?
No, I don't.
She is a side character, and she's one of the main teams that Thor goes along with at the beginning that were kind of diehard with him in battle. And this was Lady Sif. And so we get this really cool portrayal, and we get an idea of who Lady Sif is in the movies and even in the show, like I go to mention. And this is the one that I would actually say flips the script like completely. In the game, we get Lady Sif. She is married to Thor and has children. Little short story here. You've already hopefully beat the first game. If not, spoiler alerts, like this whole pretty much show is. Atreus kills both of Thor's sons. And then all that's left is Thrud, which is Thor's daughter. And they're the sons and daughters of Thor and Lady Sif. So on the right is Lady Sif. And you don't get to see her fighting. You don't even get to see her talk that much. You don't get to see weapons, shields, anything of her. She's just kind of a wife of Thor. But from my understanding from the movie, we actually get more of a portrayal of the Greek mythology version of Lady Sif. And so I thought it was really cool that we kind of flipped the script for once.
Yeah.
And I've got to ask, so once again, somebody who watches Marvel movies and they kind of get into the cinematic version, like putting it on the screen, which one do you kind of like more? When you're thinking Greek mythology, you're thinking about following along with like Thor and what they look like. Which one's more appeasing to you?
The movie one. The one from the game, to me, I don't know why, but it just looks Viking-ish to me.
Definitely. Now keep in mind that all of these are Viking gods, Aesir and stuff. So all of the tattoos and stuff are all supposed to give you that understanding that they're all like Viking and stuff like that. So I do agree with you. The one on the left gives me a better opinion of her like assertiveness, authority, which one of the things that you do is in the game when you're playing Atreus is you actually go on a mission with Thrud, which is the daughter of Lady Sif, and you connect. Thrud wants to become a Valkyrie, which I'm pretty sure that name should ring a bell for you because you end up getting into Valkyries a lot in God of War Ragnarok, where you see, forgive me, that lady who ends up being the queen of Asgard in the fourth Thor and everything, who's a Valkyrie and stuff. But Thrud wants to be a Valkyrie, and Atreus wants to go talk to Lady Sif about it. But there's this really weird, like, they're talking about how it's really hard for him to do that, and she's going to kill him, and she's supposed to be this really badass character, but unfortunately, you don't really get any actual reason for that. It's just her being stern and trying to talk that way. So I would definitely say the movie one, for once, actually gave a better portrayal for me. So I do believe, let me go ahead and make sure that I've kind of gone over all of the comparisons that I wanted you to see. Um, that did go over pretty much all of the Thor ones, so we kind of went halfway, and now that we're fully, all through it, um, tell me, like, what are you feeling? What do you think about seeing all these different characters that was in both, but kind of tell two different stories?
It's quite interesting to see how uh I guess in the games you would have directors and stuff too, how they go different directions but for the game versus movies and stuff, and the portrayals are so different, and the way they do the makeup and the character dressing and stuff is a lot different from one another.
It definitely is, and I'm always really excited to see different portrayals, unless, like, I can speak to, Batman. There's a lot of different portrayals, and some people didn't even like the Batman, but it showed a different side of things and a different perspective that I can really appreciate. And somebody who both likes movies a lot and video games, I liked different portrayals that it provided, and obviously it got awards accordingly for it. Now, as we wrap up, we're hitting about the last 15 minutes of the show. Um, I know, like, there's some best moments that you wanted to share with me and kind of get my opinion of them. Um, is that right?
Yeah. Um Tell me your favorite uh scene in the game.
So I'll have to say one of my favorite. I don't know if I could really narrow it down to my, like, favorite moment, but one of my favorite ones is gonna be this one. We've got this image, and I'm not gonna spoil too much, but if you've played the first one, you know who this is. His name's Sindri, and he's one of the dwarves that helps you along, and you can upgrade your armor and everything. But what's really crazy is, if you've played the first one, this dwarf is a very clean and organized freak. Like, he is meticulous about everything, and he's very shy away from battle. He hides. He's just totally not about that. But as you see this image, he's very bloody. He's very just fierce looking and everything. So, without spoiling anything, something really traumatizing happens, and uh, it just kind of breaks him. And so this was just one of those things that I would definitely say is just award winning, because, man, he's not even the main character, but you've grown to love him so much. And then when you see this devastating thing happen, you just feel bad. And then you get to see him go through this grieving process in his own way, which is always really nice to see the portrayals of how they can do that. Um, Tell me, I mean, like, like, somebody who hasn't played this game and you're looking at this image, what story does this tell to you?
He looks very tired and he looks very war beaten, like he's been in battle a lot and has seen a lot.
It's definitely really crazy, and this moment kind of brings a tear to your eye when you learn other things previously in the game, and putting it all together is just something that makes this game a masterpiece. I mean, when I first started playing video games, there was a lot that I would just play based off of the plot. I'd play that, I'd move on. I wouldn't play much DLC, like, not much of the side quests or anything. But each game started getting more and more interesting, that I would play more of the side quests, and seeing how much that brings to the table when you're putting it all together. Ladies and gentlemen, if you play video games and you don't take the time to do side quests because you think it's too much time consuming, or you don't think that you're going to be interested, or you just want to see how the story plays out, if you're spending $60 and they're providing you with all this content, I would definitely get your money worth and check it out, because 9 times out of 10, especially if it's a really big name and advertised game, that they've made it special, that if you do this, that it's worth it. And if I wouldn't have done the side quests and everything, I don't know if you would really get the understanding of this moment and the feeling that they want you to feel. Would you agree with that? Somebody who doesn't play video games, I mean, would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I think that just from the little bit of talking with my son and everything, that the side missions and stuff are pretty important to the storyline.
So I'll pull up another best moment here, and I want you to tell me, what your thought is of this scene. Just break down. You're seeing this and describe to me what you're feeling, what you're thinking about it, and then I'll tell you, the scene and why it's like one of the best moments.
It looks like she has got him under her control and she's about to kill him. He looks pretty rough. She looks pretty rough too. It, it's definitely makes you want to know what's going on.
Definitely. Let me tell you a little bit about this best moment. So you have Freya. This is a really important character in the game who you play with in the first one. So Freya is, the ex-wife of Odin, who he's done severely wrong. She married him purely out of the advice of Mimir to save her realm, Vanaheim, because of what Odin's done to it, and he lied about it, and basically he abandoned her on his realm, and she's trapped there. She can't travel between realms anymore. She can't go back to her home realm, Vanaheim. And so in the first game, you stumble across her. She helps you and your son Atreus, because you play Kratos, the gentleman that's there with the red scar, a white face. And she helps you, and then later you discover that the villain in the first game, Baldur, is her son. You then later figure out that the arrows that you carry on Atreus, because he shoots the bow, is special arrows that can harm Baldur. And the thing that's interesting about that is Baldur is a god who cannot feel or like get harmed in any sort of way. So she freaked out about this and told him he had to throw away all the arrows and stuff like that. But at the end of the game, the biggest fight is between Kratos and Baldur, because Baldur's trying to take down Kratos, and she gets involved and she's trying to stop it and everything. And when he finally learns that he can feel pain, he can die from this, he cranks up the crazy level. He's your final boss. But then when he realizes he can't beat you, I mean, you are the god of war after Ares and Tyr, and like, he can't beat you. So Freya's son, Baldur, the main enemy that you're fighting, turns and goes to kill his mother, Freya, which is the lady that you see in this picture. Because Kratos is somebody who doesn't let his friends get harmed, which at that time, Freya is his friend. She helped him along the journey. He goes to stop it. But it comes very clear that she stops fighting back, and she says that, son, if this is what you want, do it. Kill me and, rid yourself of this pain and move on, because he hates her for making him immortal, basically. He doesn't get to feel, he doesn't get to, like, it's just agony for him. Now, before I move on with all that kind of stuff, as a mother yourself, tell me about that. I mean, you're experiencing something, say you gave your son immortality, and after all these years, you realize it was such a burden. He can't feel pain, he can't die, and he hates you. He resents you for that. So as a mother, if he's coming after and killing you, you're defending yourself and stuff like that. Like, tell me the story, your thought process as a mother, something that I could never dare to understand.
Yeah, I mean
Tell,
that would be very difficult. I can't imagine my child coming after me wanting to kill me, but in a way you've got to understand because he's in a very bad predicament, not being able to die or all the things that you were saying is difficult with him. So I mean, it would be very hard. I can't I can't imagine going through that.
it's definitely that much. I mean, I think that having a mother's insight's great, and they gave you that understanding. I mean, if your son was coming after you and you couldn't, it's come to it, what do you do? Do you continue to defend yourself? Would you let him kill you if you knew that it would ease his pain?
Man, that's a hard decision. I can't imagine having to make that decision.
I couldn't
But
imagine you having to answer it. I mean, who would ever want to think about that? And I only ask you because this is something that she's put through, and of sadly, after she says, like, fine, kill me if that'll make your pain go away and everything, and she's made peace with it, Kratos kills Balder to save Freya. At that moment, she swears on everything in her life that she will find Kratos and kill him for killing her son and robbing her of the choice of, making him happy and all that kind of stuff. So, start of God of War Ragnarok is this moment here that it's just awe anticipating that everyone who's played the first game, you see this fight between Kratos and Freya, and she has got, as you can see in her face, the full intent of killing him because he robbed her choice and her connection with her and her son, and killed her son in front of him. I mean, do you think that you would be drive to such vengeance if you saw somebody you saw as your friend kill your son?
yes.
Do you think, I mean, and ladies and gentlemen, I'm really glad that we were able to get a moment and get a mother on here to describe, because this is a crazy roller coaster of emotions that you get to see in here. And as I did say, it is the beginning of the game, so spoilers. The game does continue. I won't tell you anything more than that, though. You'll have to experience the story for yourself because it keeps you on the edge of your seat. Now, I know we are heading up in the last little bit. I'll show you one last best moments here. Let me go ahead and pull this up. So, the last best moment that I want to show you is this one right here. Go ahead and tell me what you're seeing here. I mean, I'll show you. It's a little bit hard because it's in the details in the back. Kratos is in the back left, and you've got Atreus, or aka Loki, standing right here. So, walk me through what you're taking away from this scene in this image.
Well, Loki looks kind of like, whoa, what's going on here? Uh, being young and everything, I'm sure he's this is something, and I see a knife, so it looks like somebody's being threatened to be killed. And I see the I guess he's a blue guy. I don't. He looks like a dwarf or something.
Yeah, nailed it.
Uh,
Bravo.
and it looks like they're threatening him and stuff. And it looks like Loki wants to step in.
And I'm not going to spoil anything, guys, here, but yes, I mean, what you're going to get here is this is the dwarf. If you know from the first movie, his name's Brock, and he is the brother of Sindri, and he helps you along the entire time. But he's not like him. He's, oh, come on, don't be a wimp, and all that kind of stuff. And then what you end up seeing here is Brock in his aggressive way, as you've learned to love, is confronting somebody about what's going on, and he's pushing. And then, of course, this scene happens, and I'm not going to provide any spoilers for you guys, but this captures a lot of emotion. I mean, you could see the surprise on Loki's face on what just happened, and he's still standing there like, what just happened? And Kratos snapped his neck over, and he's like, what just happened. And I've purposely blocked out who this is. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll have to play the game to know. But you see the blood on the knife, and Brock just got stabbed after pushing this guy. So it's so much emotions in this, and the scene is one of the best ones because you've established a connection with this character from the beginning of the first game into this game. You've learned some other secrets about him through this game that make this even more heart-wrenching. And the whole scene, it wraps it together. And then you learn even more about this other guy that we're not getting to see. And it blows my mind. And I'm glad that, like, from an image, you're already able to take so much away without being able to see it. And I hope anybody who is watching this hopefully gets enticed to be able to go out and play this game, because it's definitely worth it. Now, we are wrapping up the final 5 minutes of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're still tuning in, I'd really like to thank you for taking this time and watching our show. Make sure to drop a comment down below if you liked it, what you'd like to see coming up. But with that being said, Amanda, stick around after the show. We do want to talk to you. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Now, we are officially going to be starting the year with a giveaway, and it's to thank all of you, our subscribers, our watchers. So if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe, because at the beginning of the year, we're going to be doing a giveaway to thank all of y'all. And it's going to consist of prizes, and we're really excited to be able to take this time and give thanks to y'all. So like I said, stay subscribed, get subscribed, stay tuned. We'll be giving more information about that at the beginning of the year. But with that being said, I would like to let y'all know that me and Matthew will be returning at the beginning of the year after the holiday break. We are taking it to spend some time with our families and our loved ones' families, as I'm sure all of y'all will be doing. So sadly, no more shows until then. But I would like to thank y'all for tuning in tonight, and have a great week, everyone. We both wish you happy holidays.
Oh, that does it for this episode of Into the GeekVerse. If you enjoy our content, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. And if you want to join us live, hit that bell so you never miss a show. Want to catch us on the go? Listen to our podcast on every major platform, but you can catch the real fun on YouTube. Be sure to visit geekinsider.com for tons of great geek content and advertising opportunities. And if you want to stay up to date on all things geeky, sign up for our newsletter. We'll see you next Sunday at 9 p.m. Central. And if you're not here, we might have to revoke your geek card. Have a great week, everyone.